what makes up these 21st century skills? Okay, oops. Boy, this is a touchy mouse. So here we have 21st century skills. All of you have this page in your books, right? Okay, so you follow along because there's no way that you're going to see from the back of the room all the way up here. Okay? So we have learning skills, literacy skills, and life skills. So these are the three main areas that we're going to be reviewing. Within this, we have something called the 4 C's, IMT, and CLIPS. That doesn't make any sense now, but in the next slide, it will. Because we'll begin exploring what each one of these mean. But that's the basic structure. It's, pretty straightforward, nothing magical there. Learning skills are required for the acquisition of new knowledge through reading, media, digital resources. This is the definition of what is a learning skill. A learning skill, pretty straightforward, right? You're trying to get something from the outside in. So you can put it into your little memory box, and at some point, you can use this information on the outside to help navigate through life. So that's what learning skills mean. It's the ability to learn, to assimilate, to understand. It's not just memorization. It's understanding as well. Because without understanding, they're just words. And not the definition of the words themselves, but you know what I mean. Because it's all of these components of getting the information in, understanding what it means, and then being able to use it in the proper context externally. Read a book. Look at some information on the internet, and see where it fits in your learning skill set, what you need to know. And the other thing about learning skills is learn what is relevant and what is not. This is also important. There's a universe of information out there, huge, huge amounts. You'll never get it all. And even if you would, you wouldn't know what's useful to you and what's useless. So we need, as part of the learning skills, we need a filtering mechanism to know what information am I seeing that is relevant to me, to my studies, to my life, to my activities. So that is a very critical learning skill, is that filtering mechanism. Okay, we talked about those 4 C's. Go to this page here. Critical thinking, creativity and innovation, collaboration, and communication. These are the 4 C's. This is some of the foundation work as we build in this 21st century learning skills. We find that these right here become the foundation of everything else that we're going to be talking about. Because once we have these learning skills, we apply critical thinking. This means analysis. Okay? Oops. So critical thinking, this thing is driving me nuts. Critical thinking is the ability to take information, analyze it, organize it in a way that can become useful. It's your ability to do analysis and organization. This activity in the brain is in the prefrontal cortex. This is the think box right here. Different areas of the brain are used for different things, but the prefrontal cortex is what is used for the analytical aspect of learning. Organization, categorization, So this is what critical thinking means, and we must have this skill set in order to organize that information that we have assimilated and put it in the right boxes, and then be able to combine it in creative ways. So here we have critical thinking, then we have creativity and innovation. So now that we've organized information in our brains, how do we use it? How do we make this data that we've assimilated into information which is useful? Well, we've organized it now, and our creativity and innovation says, let me take a look at this in a way that I may not have seen before. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to look at it from maybe a point of view that nobody else has, or very few people have. I'm going to creatively look at this and how to apply it in different ways. So creativity in this context means that we are not going to be isolated or limited by what other people think. This is important. Listen up. This part's important. You are not going to be limited by other people's interpretation of the information which we have. You're going to use it in a way that is useful to you in a creative, outside the box, as it were, way. Don't be limited by others' thinking. Don't be limited by what people tell you is the only way to do something, because it's just not true. There's no just one way. This person may have used this information in a way that's very useful to them. Wonderful. Take what they have. See if it applies to you, but don't be limited by it. Don't be limited. And innovation means that's the first cousin to being creative. Innovation means that you're going to do something, you're going to create something that has not been done before, or maybe a whole new way of looking at an old problem. You're going to innovate. You're going to create something new, come at it from a different angle. There's a book. If you could write this down, I don't know if you can get it over here in India, but I found it to be one of the best books I've ever read. It's called The Circle of Innovation. The Circle of Innovation by Tom Peters. It's big print, lots of pictures, it's an easy read, but the information that's in there is absolutely amazing. Because part of innovation, and this also is critically important, you cannot be afraid to fail. An innovator is always trotting ground that maybe somebody else has not gone before. So you're going to make mistakes. Things are not going to come out right the first goodness knows how many times, but you keep trying, but from different approaches. You don't just do the same thing over and over. You know, that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's crazy. So what you do, if something doesn't work quite right, go off and try it this way, try it that way. That's part of innovation. And you can fail and fail, but each time there's more clarity. Each time there's a little bit more form to what it is you're trying to do. Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb, failed 1,000 times before he got a filament and a light bulb to work properly together. Now, he was an innovator. Nikola Tesla. I don't know if any of you heard of him. He was a guy from, like Czechoslovakia, around that area. But he was one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, late 19th century, early 20th century. AC current, Nikola Tesla. AC motors, Nikola Tesla. He has over 100 or 1,000 patents under his name. So these great people weren't interested in the opinions of others. If they in their heart knew that they were onto something that they just internally knew would work, you may have to go several different directions, failing many times. And don't worry about what others say or think. Because a lot of people, all they're good at is being negative, trying to push you down or hold you down so that they can feel better. Don't go there. Don't go there. Be strong, be courageous. That's a very important part of innovation, is courage. To try things that others haven't. To try again even though you fail, even though people laugh at you. If you truly in your heart believe in something, pursue it until you are absolutely certain that this isn't going to be worth pursuing any further. But you make that determination. Don't let others do it for you. Then we have collaboration. Collaboration simply means the ability to work together sharing information. Collaboration. So there's a group of people. This person has this idea, this person has this idea. They collaborate. They work together to come up with a project or an idea or something. The old saying goes, 2 heads are better than one. You never feel that just because you have a good idea that you have the only information that could make it work. You would be surprised if you share your ideas with others and you listen to them. And always be thankful for new information, even though it may not be relevant, because you want to draw people out. It's part of team building. Collaboration means that you're working as a team for a common goal. So always be willing to listen to others' ideas and incorporate those which are going to move your end state or your goal forward. It's very, very important. Collaboration, the ability to work with others. Communication. Now, communication can be in many forms, and we'll go through some of those further on in the presentation. Communication is the mechanism that we use to get information that's in our head into somebody else's head where they understand as close as possible what we are trying to communicate, what we are trying to say. Without communication, good communication skills, you could be the smartest person in the world, and yet you'll never do anything because you don't know how to communicate those ideas or concepts or goals to anyone else. Now, communication can be taken many forms. It's not just speech. It can be things like the internet. You can use tools like PowerPoint or Excel or a dozen other vehicles that can aid you in communicating an idea to others. You pick the appropriate tool, whatever that happens to be, whether it's the internet or software or, cutouts or, wooden figures, whatever it is that helps communicate your idea. So you're trying to translate something which is abstract in here. It's very, it's just in your head. And to get it into somebody else's head where it looks like what's in yours, you've got to be able to put it in a way that they get it. And then you have to ask them, do you understand? Feed back to me what I just said. There's something called active listening. What that means is that, let's say that you and I are talking, and we have to go out and dig a hole and put a stick in the middle of it. And it's got to be 4 feet by 4 feet, and the stick has to be 6 feet high. Now, and then if I just say to her, do you understand? She'll probably, in all likelihood, go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's it. But do you know she really got it? The only way for you to know is, can you repeat back to me what I just said? Can you tell me what we're supposed to do? Like, go ahead, we'll play. We have to have a hole in the stick. So, go ahead. What are we going to do? It's what? We have a project. A hole, 4x4, 3-foot stick. And then I say to you, what are we going to do? Now, you're going to tell me, Bob, sir, we're going to dig a hole, 4 feet by 4 feet, and we're going to get a 3-foot stick. See? What you're doing is feeding back to me what I said, so that I know that you know. Does that make sense? So, now we're going to do this again. Okay, we're going to dig a hole, 4 feet by 4 feet, and put a 3-foot stick right in the middle. Do you understand? No. Yes, go ahead.
We are going to go outside and dig a hole, and we are going to dig a hole of 4 feet and 4 feet, and we are going to put a stick of 3 foot.
Yes, that's it. That's what we're going to do. Now we're on the same page. Now we're on the same page. We both know we have to dig a hole, 4 feet by 4 feet with a 3-foot stick in the middle. That's the only way you can be sure that they got it. Never, ever ask somebody if they understand and take Don't do that, because they don't. Trust me, they don't. What you ask them to, now what are we going to do? Or what is this, what has to happen? You want them to feed back to you, this is communication, what you just said. And if they can do that, then you can move forward. If they can't do that, you can't move. You dare not move, because they don't get it. You cannot assume that anybody's going to get it unless they can tell you exactly what you said, using approximately the same words, though they can use, their own words, but you have to know that they know what this is about. Does that make sense? How many of you, raise your hands when I ask you this question, but how many of you have been working with a colleague, a friend, and you have to do something together, and you explain to them what has to be done, and then you said, do you understand? And they go, and then you go off and start doing it, and they are clueless. They wander around in a fog. How many of you had this happen to you? Have any of you? Yeah, I sure have. It seems obvious, but it's not. It just isn't. If you're going to assume anything, assume that if they cannot feed it back to you, they do not get it. And if you take off and start trying to do something, it ain't going to work. It's going to be, you're going to expend 4 times as much effort, because at each step of the way, you're going to have to keep checking and checking and checking as they wander off. Trust me, I've been there. This is real life. This is real life. Remember this. If you're working with someone to get something done, make sure that they understand and can tell you back what it is you're supposed to do. Okay? So, that's communication. It's the mechanism that we use to get ideas that are in an abstract form called thought out of our head and into somebody else's head where it reasonably looks like what we're thinking. You have to use words, pictures, asking questions. These are mechanisms of making sure that information gets transmitted correctly. Listen to this, because this stuff will help you so much as you go through life. Oh, come on. Oh. Okay, this thing is giving me trouble. I don't know what in the world it's doing this. Yeah, we've got it here. Okay, thanks. Okay. Literacy skills that help in gaining new knowledge. And we touched on this when we were talking about communication, learning skills. Now, literacy. What does literacy mean? Literacy means that you are knowledgeable of something, of a certain subject. You're literate in communications. You're literate in technology. That means you understand. Does that make sense? Do all of you understand that? What literacy means? Yeah? Okay. So, literacy skills is combined with learning skills. Okay, literacy is the outcome of learning. Yeah? Now, how do we gain this literacy? How do we gain this knowledge and understanding of a particular area? Well, we can use information, the internet, books, magazines, talking with people. Okay? This gives us information in many different forms. We can use different types of media. Media means that we look at what is around us that conveys information. Computers, books, magazines, recordings. Yes, very good. People. So media can be anything. A media, all it is a mechanism of transforming information from one state to another. Computers are a media for transforming electronic information into words that we can read and understand, or pictures. We can look at pictures, paintings. That also can be a media of your literacy skills. Anything that can help you learn about something, internalize it, where you can get the right picture or the right knowledge that is going to be useful, then use any media that happens to have that information available. Part of the issue is make sure that you're selecting the right media for the right information. I mean, watching cartoons isn't going to help you learn about physics. Right? Watching Mickey Mouse isn't going to help you with an equation. So, make sure that you get the right media for the job. In technology, of course, we just mentioned that. Technology, we use computers, internet. Yes. Anything can be called a technology, which is able to transform data into information that you can assimilate. Newspapers, magazines, books, computers, the internet, people. So then you pair up the right technology within this type of media, electronic media. Technology is computers. Written media, newspapers, is the technology. You see how those two go together? One is, what media am I going to look at? Then, within this type of media, what technology am I going to use? Reading, electronic, keyboard? Does that make sense? Does anybody not get that? Am I saying anything that is really complicated and you don't understand it? Okay. Please don't be afraid to raise your hand if there's something that you don't understand, because I can't fix a problem if I don't know what it is. Okay? So I know we're running near out of time here. Life skills. Flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. These are life skills. Life means as you live, you must develop flexibility. Don't be rigid in your thinking or actions. Be flexible. Be able to change as appropriate for the circumstance and what you're trying to accomplish. Don't get stuck in one idea or one way of doing things. Leadership. Leadership is the ability to work with a group of people and keep them all moving in the same direction. To organize people's efforts into a focal point for accomplishing a specific goal. So leadership is that ability to focus multiple people's efforts toward a specific goal. This is leadership. There's going to be more about that later. It's very important. Productivity. Productivity means for the amount of energy that you expend doing something, there is the right amount or appropriate amount of output for that energy expended. So if you're working on a project and you're putting things together, how fast and how accurate that is being done determines your productivity relative to the goal you're trying to achieve. Is it according to specification? Is it according to the goal that we're trying to achieve? Was it done as fast and efficiently as is possible? That is being productive. There's output. It's a very simple thing. Being productive means energy in and output. Results. So I'll just remember that simple phrase. Energy in, output. What it is that you're trying to accomplish gets done. Working hard means nothing. It doesn't mean a thing unless there is something to show for it. Unless there is a defined product that you were supposed to produce. Somebody said, but I've been working so hard for days and weeks. I don't care. Where's this thing? And then people wander around and make excuses. No. Remember, energy in, productive output. Defined at the beginning, this is what it looks like, done in the shortest period of time. That's being productive. Social skills. It's being able to work within a group in a way that is harmonious. Like, for example, if we're working within a group and we're saying to somebody, I want you to go do this over here because I tell you to do it. Poor social skills. However, if I said, can we discuss a project that I have? I'd like your help on it. I think you can really contribute and help us get this done. You see the difference? This is applying social skills, and what social skills means: respect, communication, taking an idea and sharing it with someone in a way where they feel good. Social skills, being able to work with others in a harmonious way. Okay? Social skills. Is there more? What if I'm going the wrong way? Creativity. Okay. Critical thinking. We're back to that critical thinking business. This is the first of the. Oh, are we out of time?
We have time. We have time. We have time.
We do? Okay, good. Because I didn't want to stop in the middle. I'll try to go through this quickly. We talked about critical thinking, the ability to organize and analyze information, categorize it. The characteristics of good critical thinking is fairness and open-mindedness. Don't get stuck on your own ideas. Listen to others. Okay? Next. Activeness and being informed. Make sure that you're gathering information that you need in order to accomplish a goal. Keep informed. Don't run around in a vacuum with your own ideas just flipping around in your own head. Willingness to question or to entertain doubts. This is a very important skill to have. To question your own ideas and the ability to entertain doubts whether or not do I have enough information to get this done. So don't ever get on your high horse thinking that you know everything. A person of good critical thinking ability always questions their own information or information unless it is checked by several different relevant sources. So how do you establish a baseline where you do not have to just entertain doubts? And this is by checking whether or not from different sources, different media, technology, as to whether or not your questions or your information is accurate or needs to be adjusted. Part of critical thinking. This is important stuff, guys. Being independent. Don't always wait for somebody else to take the lead. Don't wait for somebody to start things. Be a self-starter. Initiative. That's what this means. Take initiative. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody's going to laugh at you? So what? Who are they? But take the initiative, because those are the people that make it in this world. People that aren't afraid to fail, people that take the initiative and can work independently without necessarily having to have someone hold their hand. Right? Be able to work independently. Don't be afraid. Now, working independently doesn't mean you work alone. Independently may mean that you're going to ask a friend who you trust their knowledge and their ideas to help you with a particular problem. You don't have to wait for somebody to tell you that this person could be helpful. So working independently, maybe you can draw in the right resource. Does that make sense? Because don't think that being independent means working alone. That's not it. But it's knowing when to bring, who to bring, what to bring. The focal point is you, but the resources could be many. Yeah? Recognizing and assessing value. Know what's important and what's not. It's a filtering mechanism. Anytime you get information in, check its relevance against what you're trying to accomplish. Always, always. Tie whatever you're learning to your goal. If you can't tie it together, you're probably going to get something that is either, at the worst case, will be useless, or in the immediate case, be useless. In the worst case, it could send you off in the wrong direction. So you've got to be able to assess the value of the information relative to a goal. Write that down. Because it's part of that filtering and then documenting what is relevant. Because you can't remember. You've got to write stuff down. Then you can go back and use it as a reference. You can use it to correlate or to bring together other pieces of information. Analyze and evaluate. That's to be able to organize, to look at its relevance to your product or your goal that you're trying to achieve. You're going to look at what makes it up and how does it relate. That's analysis. Analysis, again, is a very strong critical thinking skill. Evaluating is part of the analysis cycle. Evaluating means to look at something and how relevant is it to what I'm trying to accomplish. I evaluate. I consider the different dimensions of this thing and how it relates to what I'm trying to accomplish. Remember, any of this stuff, you must always have a goal. First and foremost, Where are we going? Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So you'll only know what information is relevant. You'll only know what to analyze if you know what you're trying to accomplish. Be goal-oriented. Write it down. Be goal-oriented. Use that goal as your stake in the ground, that all things that come into your sphere of influence will be analyzed against the goal to make sure that it's relevant to that goal. Problem solving, identifying relevant pieces of information when faced with a mass of data, most of which is irrelevant. Discarding information that may not be useful, give new information, and finally, relating to a set of information to another by using experience, relating new problems to old ones that we have solved previously. Problem solving is, there's some type of a blockage. A problem is a blockage, isn't it? So, what can we do to overcome this blockage? So, we identify relevant information that can bear. Remember, in this case, the problem is the goal. It's a subset. Maybe I've got a goal here of building a bridge, but a problem exists where I'm not getting the cement on time. Does that make sense? It's related to the goal, but we have to do something to get the cement moving. What information is relevant? Who's the contractor? How far away is the cement? Is the trucks working? You see? It's information relevant to solving the problem, which will get to our goal. What? Discarding information that's not useful to solving that problem. Well, John over here, his wife is having a new baby. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Is that going to solve my cement problem? No. Discard it relative to the problem that must be solved. Does this make sense? It's part of that filtering mechanism we talked about earlier. Relating one set of information to another and seeing if some previous problem that we solved, part of it can be used in solving this one. This contractor over here had a problem with getting the cement. However, when they used this cement company, they were always on time. Oh, give me their phone number. Okay? So this was a previous problem that somebody solved. Now I'm going to use that information to solve my problem, which will get me to my goal. Does this make sense? You guys should be writing furiously. This is good stuff. And I know this because I've lived problem solving my entire career. That's what I was known for, was solving problems. That's what I did. And this is how, these are mechanisms. Because if you can't solve a problem or an obstruction that is in the way of achieving your goal, you're stuck. You're shot. So this stuff is, use this as a Bible as you get older and as you start, go back and look at it. Okay, that's it. How about that? I think that's the last one, right? So, in summary, we've covered a lot of ground today. I hope that, some of these ideas and thoughts are going to stick in because they will be very useful to you as you move along, not just in your educational, but your professional and life careers, okay? These are tools, techniques, ways of thinking, ways of acting that will help smooth your road in life. Use them, and it'll be an easier road for you. CK?